Hello and welcome. This is the video where I'm going to reveal to you everything that I've done over the last 7 years on my skincare and facial rejuvenation journey. I'm going to share with you all the in-office procedures that I've had done from 2015 when I turned 50 to 2022 when I'm getting ready in a few short weeks to turn 57. Also going to share with you a little bit about how I made my plan for my skincare rejuvenation journey, how I did some budgeting, and as well as my research to find the right provider and the right procedures to meet my skincare rejuvenation goals. If you're interested in Botox, lasers, reds, filler, and other in-office procedures, you're really going to enjoy today's video. So honestly, in 2015, I didn't have a plan. I knew that my face was looking really haggard and tired. I thought, okay, it's just stress. I was going through a bout of perioral dermatitis, but then I was on vacation with my sister, who is my stepsister, so not genetically related, and she's like 10 years older, and her skin was looking fabulous. And I was like, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm using Tretinoin. And I'm like, well, what's that? She's like, Retin-A. And I was like, oh gosh, I thought only celebrities at that point used Retin-A. But no, she was using Retin-A. And she's like, I got it from my dermatologist. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I was dealing with the perioral dermatitis, which I needed to get cleared up. And then when that cleared up, I talked to my dermatologist about starting Tretinoin for anti-aging. So I was prescribed 0.025% Tretinoin. And I started on that journey. And of course, my face erupted and I was irritated. She's like, just use it a couple times a week. And I was like, I just never felt I could get going on it. And at that same time, I had heard about Latisse for growing eyelashes. I always had these stubs and my eyelashes never looked great. And I just wanted to do a few things to sort of perk myself up. Menopause, like I said, was hitting hard. I had loss of facial volume. The sun damage was really starting to show up on these big brown patches on the sides of my face. And I just wasn't looking the same. So I sort of stumbled into this after talking to my sister that the dermatologist could actually help you on a skin rejuvenation journey. But it really wasn't until 2016 that I started to make a plan. In 2016, we'd moved. I was at a new dermatology practice for my yearly skincare cancer screening and to renew my Tretinoin prescription. And I started asking her about what I didn't know what the term was at the time, facial rejuvenation and cosmetic dermatology. And she said, actually, the things that I wanted to do to sort of reduce the pigment, increase volume, sort of get a refreshed look, were in the realm of a cosmetic dermatologist. And within their practice, they have a couple cosmetic dermatologists, but she was a generalist. And so that was my first introduction to the concept that dermatologists specialize like all other doctors do. So she referred me to a cosmetic dermatologist. And that was also at the time I knew I needed to make a plan and a budget because none of the cosmetic dermatology visits were going to be covered by insurance, which was a bit eye-opening to me. I don't know why this didn't dawn on me, but none of that was going to be covered by insurance. So I needed to make a budget plan as well. So I had my first cosmetic dermatology visit and she opened the Pandora's box of all the things that were out there. But I knew I wanted to go really slow and really low. That was just I just didn't really want to jump into Botox or anything invasive. I just wasn't ready. So she definitely pointed out that I wasn't on a very good anti-aging skincare routine yet. So she's like, you're using the Tretinoin, but you need to increase that as often as you can. And she showed me how to buffer it, how to get on a great skincare routine. She introduced me to the concept of antioxidant skincare, double cleansing, and regular SPF use. I had been really good about using my SPF daily, but I didn't really know about reapplication. So I learned a lot during that visit on basic skincare for anti-aging. And I didn't really go in with it with any other thought that, okay, let's get this basic skincare in place and then I'll think about what I want to do next. Because at that time, like I said, I wasn't really interested in anything invasive and I was getting ready to start braces. And I knew that even getting my teeth fixed was going to be a major improvement to my appearance. So that's what I did during 2016. Just basic skincare, a great anti-aging skincare routine, and I worked on my teeth. In 2017, again at my yearly visit, I had switched over to the cosmetic dermatologist because she could do my yearly screen, was covered by insurance, but she could also talk about any cosmetic procedures that I was interested in. So we reviewed the skincare routine that she had given me the year before, how it was going. Was I consistent? And I said, yes, I was very religious about it. It was in my routine. I really enjoyed it, but that it wasn't really giving me the change that I had anticipated. And that's when she taught me about skin, really. She explained the difference between wrinkles, texture, volume loss, and pigment changes, and that they were all going to be addressed by different modalities. And that's when I really realized I needed to make a plan. And her recommendation, and most dermatologists' recommendations, is what's bothering you? And for me, it was like, oh, these brow furrows and this crease between, these glabellar lines. Like, I always look like I'm angry. And she's like, we can fix that with a little bit of baby Botox. And so I did a little bit of baby Botox, and 2017 was the first time I'd ever had Botox, and I really liked the refreshed look that it gave me. So I have continued Botox for every 4 to 6 months since 2017. After my dermatologist explained that a full facial rejuvenation was so multifactorial, involving pigment loss, deep wrinkles, textural changes, volume loss, I realized that I really needed to take a step back and take a year off, do some research, enjoy my braces. I just got my braces off, was loving my new teeth, and I really didn't do a whole lot in 2018. I think I maybe got a couple Botox treatments, but I didn't do really much of anything in 2018. I saved my pennies and made a plan. So when I went back to her, I was basically like, is there a one and done? What's the cheapest way to get this done? And she's like, ah. But anyway, so she talked me through, what filler was, what the different types of filler were. She also explained all the different types of lasers, Fraxel to CO2 ablative. And I decided, after sort of listening to this whole explanation of all these steps I was going to have to take, I was like, you know what? I want to start out with something that is going to be kind of a one and done. What treatment is going to address pigment, volume loss, and textural changes? And she actually was very honest with me. She said the best anti-aging procedure that you could have done is CO2 ablative laser. So she referred me to a CO2 ablative laser specialist. Now, the only thing that this procedure wasn't going to really address was volume loss. And the CO2 laser specialist even said that after you recover from this, you're not going to have the full volume back to your face that you probably are expecting, that you will have some skin tightening, but not volume loss. I was like, okay, 3 out of 4, I'm in. So in 2019, I had CO2 ablative laser. I did a full video on my ER Yag CO2 laser experience, and I'll link that down below. I take you from week 1 all the way to a year and a half out of my recovery. So that brings us to around 2021. So as promised, the CO2 laser did a beautiful job at resurfacing my skin, giving me a little bit of tightening and reducing the pigment in my skin. It evened things out beautifully. But what it didn't address was the volume loss. 2019 to early 2021 were crazy times. I was recovering from my laser. I had thyroid surgery. The pandemic hit and we moved. So I wasn't even thinking about the next step in my skincare journey, which was volume loss, until probably early 2021 when things started to open up. And I decided, okay, now I'm going to think about having a little bit of filler. And I mean a little bit of filler. I think over 2 to 2.5 years, I've only had about 3 cc's of fillers, which are 3 syringes, small amounts placed strategically all around my face so that it has a nice, smooth, cohesive aesthetic. And this is where it's really important to find a doctor that you agree with their aesthetic. I didn't want the pillow face. I didn't want that overfilled look. I wanted something soft and natural and subtle. And so I had a little bit of filler placed in my nasolabial folds, my temples, and my cheek. That was number 1. Very small amounts. I don't even think it was a syringe. But the nasolabial folds made me look like a chipmunk. That was a mistake. I will not be doing that again. Day 2, post Rejuvaderm Ultra Filler in my nasolabial folds. Small amount in my cheeks, and a little bit in the temple area. The next little step was to do my earlobes. I thought that was fantastic. I perked up my earlobes. It was so exciting. And I wanted to address the tear troughs. I had a lot of hollowing. I have deep recessed eyes, and I didn't have festoons or sagging, but I had a lot of volume loss in my under eye area. So I sought out actually a specialist in the practice that did tear troughs, did them often, and had a lot of experience. With tear trough filler, it is not a one and done. You need to find someone who knows what they're doing, and it takes multiple steps and multiple visits. So that's one that if you're doing, you have to be really careful who you choose, know the risks before you go into it. There's a lot of talk these days about the residual filler that are left in the tear troughs. More than we actually realized is actually left or slides behind the orbital bone. So you really need to know a lot about the procedure, know the person you're going to, and do your research. I did that and I decided to have it done, and I'm really glad I did. He complemented it with PRF, platelet-rich fibrin, which is where they spin down your blood, take out the fibrin, and place it under the tear trough area, and that really rounded things out. I did have a little Tyndall effect under one of my eyes, and he had to take some hyaluronidase and remove some of the filler. It's bluing, that if they get the filler to surface, that it can kind of have a bluing effect. So you need to know going in that it's going to be a multiple step procedure, but it's actually one of the best fillers that I think I had done. It really rejuvenated my under eye. Like I said, I didn't have skin that needed to be removed. I just had a lot of hollowing. So I have to say, for me personally, the tear trough filler and probably the earlobe filler was the best. I had a little permanent filler, like the one that you can't dissolve, in my jawline just to give it a little bit of structure. And I kind of like that placement. So I think that's fine the way it is. I probably will not be getting cheek filler again. I like kind of a little bit of a hollowing so you can kind of see my cheekbones. I really appreciate that. And I probably won't do temple filler because I don't like a gaunt look, of course. I want to have volume, but I like the definition in my face with a little bit less filler. So like I said, tear trough and earlobe filler were my absolute favorites. And the next thing that I decided to have done, I kind of feel like I got talked into, and I probably should have said no. And I think this is where, when something is not in your plan, you really need to give it a second thought. I was talked into getting threads, PDO barbed threads, because I had some sagging down here that of course the filler wasn't going to address. Filler does not address sagging skin. That's surgery. But they said, you know, it might give, the PDO threads might give you a little lift and just sort of soften the sagging that you have in your marionettes, lower marionettes. And I was like, okay, well, let's give it a try. And I also, in the practice, I went to someone who had experience, knew what they were doing, and I would not do that again. They were painful, they were expensive. They said they would only last a year. They only lasted a year, given. It gave me a nice volume in my face. Actually, I kind of did appreciate that, but it certainly didn't do any lifting. And I think you've probably heard this either on social media or if you watch YouTube, that the threads really don't give the lift that I think people are looking for. So that's my 2 cents on threads. I did have some smooth threads along with my tear trough rejuvenation or eye rejuvenation, and I'm not really sure they did anything or not. Just some very small, very, very thin, smooth threads. But like I said, part of my tear trough and my PRF treatment for the under eye rejuvenation. So I think filler has its place. It needs to be done strategically. Small amounts, low and slow. And that's my philosophy with all of this. Go slow, one step at a time, go low, and don't overdo it. Stay within your budget. This all costs money. There's no getting around that. I know that I want to be sensitive to that because this all does cost money. You cannot get the type of rejuvenation that I had done without spending money. And there's really a strong place for at-home devices, good skincare. You can get a long way with those. And you don't have to do these cosmetic procedures. They are completely optional. I highly respect anybody's choice in what they have done and how happy they are with their skin and how they feel about pro-aging their own way. I highly respect everybody's decision to pro-age in their own way. And I say pro-age because I like that positive spin on it. I want to be happy about aging. And for me, that was facial rejuvenation. I also want to talk to you about what I've done more recently. Right now, I'm in the process of a smooth glow treatment because I had scar on my neck and from tracks from the CO2 laser that were not addressed during the 3 medical microneedling appointments that I had. And my dermatologist here was kind of at a loss. Medical microneedling is a deep microneedling beyond 0.5, closer to 1 to 3 millimeter depth needles that are only done in the office under like a topical anesthetic. And they were hoping that that would address some of the scars that I had, or track marks that I had after the CO2 laser. And I was too, and also address the scar from my surgery. So that's why I went in to have a couple treatments of medical microneedling to address scar. But they really didn't do anything, and my dermatologist here wasn't really sure what the next step would be. My dermatologist who did the CO2 laser, where we had moved from, I didn't want to go back to. His idea was to do a chemical peel, and for some reason I just wasn't into that. I'm not sure why. So I sought out someone who I thought could really address the issues with the scar that I was having and the disparate coloration in my face, because I had a lot of residual redness under my chin, and the top of my brow, which hadn't had CO2 laser, was a different color than the rest of my face with blotchy redness. So I sought out Dr. Shireen Idris in New York City, and she really pointed out that It was the pigment disparity between the pigment colors of my décolleté, my chin, my cheeks, and my forehead that were sort of making everything not look harmonious. And that's what I mean when I say you need to find a practitioner who looks at the whole aesthetic of your face. Not just this problem or that problem and does a, oh, let's fix this, let's fix that. You need to have a comprehensive plan. And that's really what I want to talk about in this video, is that if you're into fully rejuvenating your face, it really is going to take multiple treatments, multiple types of treatments, and a plan. Not only a budget plan, but a plan with a practitioner whose aesthetic that you agree with. So what she decided to do to kind of even everything out is to do a Fraxel treatment on my face, sort of help break up some of that scar, a very light laser. Then follow that up with 3 Smooth and Glow treatments. And Smooth and Glow is an IPL treatment and radiofrequency microneedling. And that has those combination of treatments have really gotten rid of the residual redness, evened out the tone of my face between my neck, chin, and forehead, so that everything kind of looks harmonious. The other thing that we wanted to do, or she recommended, was do a décolleté rejuvenation, neck to chest, because this area was not looking nearly as good as the rest of my face because I'd only focused here. And she's like, you have to look at the whole picture. And I really agree with that. So I've had some IPL treatments and some Fraxel treatments to my décolletage. I'm not quite done with those treatments, so I don't want to show the before and afters yet because they're really not an after yet. But I will be sharing that with you. I also wanted to let you know I'm going into kind of the maintenance phase after doing this whole kind of 5, now 7-year journey into the maintenance phase of maintaining all the effort that I've put into this. You still have to maintain your skin, and that's what I'm going to be doing at home with the 3 devices that I've chosen, and I'll be sharing that with you in an upcoming video. And I also will have one more treatment for my décolleté rejuvenation, and I'll share the before and afters of that. So that's kind of a real broad look at the 5, now 7-year plan of facial rejuvenation that I've had done. And I really hope you enjoyed today's video and got a full, complete understanding of what it takes to really do a full rejuvenation. And I had no idea going into this that I would be down what maybe some people would call a rabbit hole, but I'm really happy with where I am right now. I honestly don't plan to have anything more done. I may top up my earlobe filler on occasion, or if things start to deplete in my cheekbones, or if I get some hollowing, maybe a little bit of filler here and there, but I don't really have any plans to do filler anytime soon. I'm going to complete these treatments with Dr. Idris to rejuvenate my décolleté and kind of see where I am. And like I said, kind of go into a maintenance phase for all that I've done over the last 7 years. Thanks so much for the time that you spend with me. Please consider subscribing, liking, and clicking that notification bell so you don't miss my next uploads. And I'm wishing you all a very skintastic day. And if you've had treatments done that you've enjoyed and that you've found beneficial, definitely always leave comments below. It's really important to share this information. I know when I started out years ago, 7 years ago, there just wasn't that much information on YouTube. And I really appreciate the conversations that we have. I glean so much information from you. And I know down in the comments, others learn so much from your comments as well. So I really look forward to reading your comments and wishing you a skintastic day. Take good care.